Welcome. Today I'm going to talk to you about the third strategy here, and it's kind of building on the work that was done in the first two. So I hope you're if you're following them in order, you're kind of seeing a progression as they move on. This one specifically, I think, is about evidence. I think you could tweak it in a number of different ways, but the way that I use it is to get the students to focus on the importance of certain types of evidence and kind of drilling down into what's most important about the evidence that they're looking for here. So you can see it's just this spreadsheet right here. Again, another spreadsheet. I know I'm obsessed with spreadsheets. And what you see is you've got some quick directions, a place for students or for the teacher to write a complex idea that the students are supposed to work with, and then a place to insert a graph or a data table or some other little bit that needs to be analyzed. So this box right here is your source of evidence. And so the trick is for the students to relate the complex idea to the source of evidence and then try to distill it down into a Snapchat message, which apparently is 31 characters long. I don't use Snapchat because I'm in my 40s. So I assume that that's the case. I think that that's probably still true. If that's not true, then that's the scenario, and we're just going to go with it. And then there's a small section for the students to go ahead and write down why they picked those particular characters or that particular message. So it's pretty easy to use. This video should be pretty quick. Here's the template itself. I'm going to move my screen just a bit here. There we go. So you can see how this is going to go. The directions up here are supposed to be a little on the silly side because of the fact that this is a little bit of a silly activity. But really, the main thing, remember, is to try to get evidence that supports this big idea, this big complex idea, if you can. And try to do so out of what should be a rich and maybe complex data source. Now, I did my best to give you some examples. I'm going to show you the first one example is actually an example that I took from my physics class, and it's specifically about the strategy that students need to develop that is the area under a curve analysis for graphs. And so as you look at this, the scenario that I've given them is this: a rocket fires, pushing a spacecraft in deep space. Estimate the change in the velocity produced by the rocket's force versus time curve as seen below. And so here's the image that they're supposed to analyze, the graph they're supposed to analyze, and they should be able to come up with a pretty good estimate for what the change in velocity is based on what they see here. They can get lots of data out of this, including estimating an average force that's being applied, including estimating the amount of time over which that force is applied. And then if I give them the mass, then they should be able to come up with the change in velocity. So what either I have written right here, the impulse applied by the rocket and so on, the description of how to do this, I wrote that in there. I would probably expect the students to write that in there so they can get a sense for what so I can get a sense for what they think the complex idea is. Then because the scenario is to send a quick Snapchat message that can't be more than 31 characters long, they have to try to come up with a message, which I have written right there. And so you can see the message here is area under curve, F times T divided by M equals delta V. And that's the formula that they would use to be able to figure out what delta V is. So I tried to fit that into 31 characters as best I could. I'm not looking for grammatical brilliance. I'm looking for can they get the biggest idea out of it and then distill it down into 31 characters. And so I would go ahead and write down, maybe I'd expand on that down in this cell right here. If I asked the students to do that, then they would go ahead and type in there as such. Some other examples from other subject areas. Here's one I put together from if it ever loads. Not sure what's happening. There we go. Of course, I hit reload again because hashtag Google Rage. Anyway, here we go. So I took a history example and it's just a very basic one, so I have to apologize to the history teachers out there if there are any in there. I'm pretty sure nobody's going to come to my thing, so I can pretty much say whatever I want here. But anyway, so I went ahead and put together a history example. Here it is. So the complex idea is about the Magna Carta, and what it says is in 1215, King John of England was forced to sign the Magna Carta. By signing, he was agreeing that kings were also subject to laws of the society they govern. I put a picture in here, and my idea would be that the student was called up to the front and given this picture and said, "Can you explain what's happening historically and what's the significance?" And so the student then would, the lab partner who's trying to help out would then go ahead and put down this together. This Snapchat message here. I have unhappy barons limit John's power. I don't know. You could come up with a number of different ways of doing it, but that would probably be the way that I would try, at least on this very superficial level. And then you could go in and explain why you picked those particular characters if you wanted to. And then I went ahead and picked I wanted to find something other than history and math and science, or physics in particular, that I was looking at. So I tried to put together an AP Java example. So Joan, if you're listening to this, don't give me a hard time for it. My understanding of Java is only so good. So there we go. Anyway, so I'm assuming that the student was called up in front of the class to explain the significance of the ch variable in this particular set of code right there. And then what I did is I wrote down what I consider to be a very basic description of what the ch variable does in this particular set of code. And then I estimated that, or I simulated what the student might actually say based on that kind of idea. So I put char vars can be Unicode counts. So obviously what I was trying to say is character variables can be Unicode counters, but only with 31 characters, you have to kind of be clever about it. Anyway, so that's what I would explain then down here, why I chose those particular things. Again, not super in-depth, but my goal, as always, is to get in and get out and get the information that I need and get the students to focus in on what's most important. Is this the most important part? No. Is this important? Yes. But what's most important to me is that they can relate this to that. And how they do that is really what I'm trying to find. The big idea and the evidence need to be related together. So this is what this should try to tell me. Anyway, so that's all I got. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.